What's up, guys? Jacoby YT, and I'm back with another video, guys. And today we're talking about Arrow Season 5, Episode 7, Vigilante. So, guys, this was a good episode. Not as good as the past two episodes, in my opinion, but I thought this was a pretty solid episode, guys. I'm really enjoying Arrow Season 5. I'm really definitely getting that Season 1, kind of Season 2 vibe, but with its own originality, which I really do enjoy. Alright, guys, so let's just talk about how the characters were in this episode. I thought Oliver was pretty good in this episode. We got to see a lot more flashback Oliver change, kind of, than more current day. But we definitely saw Oliver kind of going through, kind of like a crisis, deciding whether, because I'll talk about it, but in this episode, kind of the whole theme is they're going after a new vigilante that calls himself Vigilante, and I'm gonna put a little spoiler so you guys don't really know this. The Vigilante is, alright, guys, so if you guys don't want to know, leave the video right now and come back in about 20 seconds. The Vigilante is, spoiler review right here, Adrian Chase. So the district attorney, Adrian Chase, is Vigilante, and yeah. So it's kind of obvious. I mean, the whole court, room, not the courtroom, but the interrogation scene was great between him and that girl who was working with the gang they were going after, but that scene was great. So, guys, yeah, that's who the Vigilante is. So, I thought Vigilante's character was good in this episode. Not great, not as good as Prometheus, but good. And don't be confused, Vigilante is not Prometheus. It's not split personality. One day Vigilante, one day, no. So, yeah. Well, it could be, but I'm 99% sure it's not. Yeah, so basically, I thought this episode was solid. It wasn't great, but I thought the Vigilante was a highlight for this episode. I definitely liked the fact that he was basically dissing Oliver, saying, well, yeah, you're stopping guys, you're sending them to jail, and they come out, next year. Not really working. It was basically the same thing between the Punisher and Daredevil in the beginning of Daredevil Season 2, where you got your main character, Daredevil, similar to how we got the Green Arrow, and they believe fighting. They believe they can get brutal and everything, but they believe in the court. They believe in the judicial system. They believe that they don't kill, basically. And then you got the Punisher, who's the Vigilante, who believe they're only you send them to jail, they're gonna come right back. You gotta put them in the ground for good. And so the Vigilante was very similar to the Punisher, and it's very similar to the Punisher's backstory. They didn't explain it, but if you guys know the comics, the Vigilante's family was murdered by a bunch of gangsters, similar to how the Punisher's family was murdered. So that's basically, they're really similar. If you guys think about the Punisher, episodes 1 through 4 in Season 2 are very similar to the theme of this episode. So the main plot was kind of there's these band of thieves, and they're being pursued by Vigilante, who catches Team Arrow's attention, and they go at it. So, I thought the first fight scene with Arrow and Vigilante was pretty good. I did definitely like the scene when they were in the motel, and Vigilante pulls out the rocket launcher, which I thought was a little extreme. He's carrying a rocket launcher with him, but yeah, it's okay. And yeah, so I thought the opening scene was really cool at Vigilante. I thought Vigilante's action scenes were really cool, especially the Predator stuff when he's because he has the heat signals and everything he's watching. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought Team Arrow was a little bit underused in this episode. I mean, they were basically used as plot devices, breaking into the store, pretending to be the thugs. Carter's getting kidnapped, and yeah, only one of the characters really stood out. I'll talk to them at the very end of the episode. That's your biggest, duh, what the fudge. So yeah. So I thought that part of the episode was decent. We also got to see the whole Lance-Thea plot, where Lance basically comes clean to Thea, saying he woke up with the blood and the throwing star. So it basically cancels out the whole Quentin getting drunk and then going crazy, or the mind control people thought. I basically cancels that out. I guess Quentin could still technically be Prometheus, but I don't think so. I thought their scenes were really emotional. Thea definitely stepped up to kind of Laurel Season 1 with her dad being an alcoholic. It was very similar to that. I thought Thea played this really great, some of the speeches she gave her, and yeah. So guys, let's talk about one of the newest cast members from this season, Susan Williams. And to be honest, I thought her character was pretty good in this episode. I mean, she definitely gave a lot of words of wisdom that Felicity would usually tell Oliver, you gotta fight this in the light. She definitely did take a lot of Felicity's lines in this episode, which is good because they're advancing her character. I mean, if she was always going to be that role, I'd be I don't know, but like they're advancing her character, and obviously if we know a couple of episodes, she realized Oliver's not always on the island. I think she knows that he's the Green Arrow. So is she Prometheus? I don't think so, because it doesn't really show you a timeline, but we see Prometheus at the end of the episode. I'll talk about that later. And we also see her go on a date with Oliver. It seems as if they're at the same time, but we're not really sure. So, yeah. But I think she's definitely has an ulterior motive for getting to know Oliver. So, yeah. So that's basically that storyline. And then we also get the Diggle-Renee storyline. They're like friendship kind of bonding. And I really did like this. So, basically we get to see Diggle talk about how it's his son's birthday, but obviously he can't go see his son because he's a fugitive. But I thought it was really a nice kind of emotional scene at the end when Renee gets Diggle Jr. to come there. And yeah, so I definitely think that Diggle Jr. was a really cool addition to this season, because we've had Sarah Diggle, but she was a plot device in season 3 for Oliver when he kidnapped her, and it's kind of cool because he's eventually going to grow up to be Connor Hawke from Legends. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, so that was kind of like the Diggle storyline. Diggle was also kind of going crazy in this episode just because he was cabin fever mad he couldn't see his family. So I thought that was pretty cool. I definitely really did like the scene when they pretended to be the criminals and broke into the bank. I thought that was really cool with everything going on. I really liked how Rory was in that episode. In that scene, I thought that was kind of cool. And I also did really like the action and kind of like the team up with Artemis and Ragman when they basically get this guy who's working for one of the robbers. And that's what you get for recording with your phone and somebody calls you and you're recording. So, yeah, basically. I'm sorry, guys. So I was basically living off with the whole Ragman team up with Artemis. And I thought that was really cool. Artemis kind of played the guy and Ragman torturing him. I thought that was really cool. I mean, Ragman, basically, he's been the same thing over and over again in every episode. Just stands there, blocks the bullets. And he did do that this episode. But it was kind of cool to see a different dynamic with his character. So, yeah. So, guys, this was a solid episode. I really did enjoy this episode. And, the flashbacks were good, so let's talk about the flashbacks. So we basically leave off where Oliver's captured by Kovar, played by Dolph Lundgren. In this episode's a lot of dialogue back and forth at the dinner table. And it was really cool because he finally explains, like, I guess when he was being tortured, basically gets to explain he came here because Tiana from the island told him that he was cruel and that he needed to be taken down. And it was like, what? When you realize that his, like, number one, like, maid or, like, helper, very loyal helper that really likes him is Tiana's mom. So it kind of throws everything like, what? So that was kind of interesting. We got another big WTF when we find the leader of the Bratva is really making deals with Kovar unofficially to help the Bratva. So Oliver's basically having no support now besides Anatoly. So I thought the flashbacks were really cool. That fight between Kovar and Oliver was great. I really liked how they're making Kovar. I don't know if he's going to end up being like a meta-human super strength or not, but I think that was really cool. And you actually hear him when he's punching Oliver and everything. I thought that was pretty cool. So we also get to see in this episode that Kovar is going to be a big character. I don't know if he's going to be in present day because they're making such a big deal with this character. Is he going to be Prometheus? I don't think so because they're supposed to have relations to episode 1 or something like that. Is that episode 1, season 1? Yeah, same thing. So, yeah. So, we basically see at the very end of the episode the biggest WTF of the season so far, besides, yeah, bigger than last week's Quentin. We basically see Artemis. It looks like she's just, like, maybe doing surveillance for Team Arrow, and then freaking Prometheus goes back, and instead of attacking her, you find out they're working together. So, now, at some point this episode, Oliver realized Prometheus knows his identity as Green Arrow. I mean, we could do this in a couple ways. Technically, he could have found out from Tobias Church, but based off reaction and based off common sense, I don't think that's it. So it leaves two options. It means he either knows who Oliver is from season 1, or somebody's been telling him. And now we know that he's in cahoots with Artemis. And I think Artemis is not going to be they're not making Artemis a villain, in my opinion. If you guys don't know that, like, if you guys really didn't understand, she doesn't really like Oliver because she doesn't feel like the Team Arrow, or the original Team Arrow, did enough when her parents were killed by Damien Dark. So she kind of has a personal vendetta against Oliver. She kind of explores that last episode. But yeah, so that's why I think she's working in cahoots with Prometheus. That would only really be to make sense. I don't think they're turning Artemis into a villain. I mean, in the comic books, her parents are villains, and that's her motive for becoming a hero. I mean, I don't think Prometheus is her father or mom. I just don't really see that being a thing. I think they're going to catch Artemis, and she's probably going to leave the team, or she's going to eventually take down Prometheus. Very similarly to how last season we saw Lance working with Damien Dark, maybe she's being pressured. Maybe her family's alive. Maybe she has a brother or something that she's being forced into doing that. But we're not really sure. So that basically leaves it off a thing. Let's just talk about Prometheus for a quick little bit. So let's just say that Artemis is telling him he's the Green Arrow. That basically rules out Tommy as Prometheus. So she could just be getting information about Team Arrow. It doesn't mean she has to tell him his identity. We don't really know. I think, does he know? Because in episode 2, when he reveals it, he might already know about the plan. He knows about the list. So that makes me believe that she didn't tell him his identity because he knows about the list. And that was before Artemis knew about the list, unless she's been snooping in the Arrow Cave. But I doubt that they're really going to explain it like that. So yeah, guys, I thought this episode was really cool. Next Arrow episode is a crossover. Slade Wilson coming back, a bunch of older cast members. I think we get to see, we're getting Slade, Oliver's parents, all the legends, Team Flash, Malcolm, I think, is going to be in the episode, and, Deathstroke, I can't wait, guys, I freaking can't wait. Laurel's coming back, and yeah. So, I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace. Boom. Oh, guys, I totally forgot to talk about one of the biggest parts of the episode. That was the second Vigilante fight, because I got so wrapped up in the Prometheus stuff that I forgot. So, at the end, in the trailer, makes it look like we find out who, Vigilante is, but we don't. And I think Vigilante's character storyline will continue on throughout the season. So, I just want to add that in. So, yeah, guys, I'll see you in my next video. Peace.